Hi, this is Eldervi, and this might have been a really good week for all Sigurd fans, as I think he actually might have broken the game for good. I'm being a bit overdramatic to stop you from exiting this video right away, but the new legendary Sigurd with his insane special and in combination with himself, which is kinda funny, may very well cause the most horrific and actually scoring forced turn 1 trap we've seen so far in this game. Before I talk you through the horror of this map layout, let me show you the match that gave me this idea. This match was against a whale I rematched last season, and I originally wanted to put this on my Whale Hunter show, but then we got legendary Sigurd and I felt like this is the right time to do an update of my forced dancer trap video. For anyone wondering, even though there are only 2+10 units in this team, I am pretty confident that this is indeed a whale just by looking at the offensive team they brought against me. So, everyone who saw my dancer trap video, or in general any video on the new extra slot, knows what's going to happen here. Maps like these have been popping up over and over in the last weeks. Marita is the unit in the extra slot and will therefore end her turn right at the beginning of the enemy phase. With the right slot order, this will force Dancer Sigurd out of his position to dance her. The game will automatically adjust the danger area to his new position, even though Sigurd's turn ended already, causing bad news for any player with 6 units and buildings, as the new danger area only leaves 8 tiles uncovered. Given that you have to bring 2 buildings at least, the fortress and the bonus structure, any additional building will force at least one of your units to stay in Sigurd's new range. As he is now most likely threatening one of your units, I mean, come on, who doesn't bring ladders to a match? Unless you used all of them on day 1. Outsmart yourself. The game will try to boost his morale with rallies. Luckily, this team has Ophelia right around the corner, who will happily do that for them. Ophelia rallies, ends her turn and therefore allures the next poor dancer to be her bitch. In this case, Azura takes the bait and refreshes Ophelia, giving her a nice little extra movement boost on top. This will obviously change the danger area once more, but this time with a unit that can actually act. If you are now unlucky enough to have left a unit in her new range, I would say you might be pretty much dead. And the follow-up of 3 units with Odd Tempest, a dancer among them, isn't too good looking either. Of course, there are known ways to counter this strategy. Counter number 1, which is also portrayed in the last video I made: isolation. By isolating either the dancer, in this case Sigurd, or the rally unit Ophelia, or also the follow-up dancer Azura, you can break this movement pattern and position yourself for an easy turn 2 snipe. This layout, unfortunately, is the advanced version with an odd recovery Veronica standing just in place to stop any isolation on any of the enemy's units. That's a big F, so unless you actually engage this team right in turn 1, you can't stop them from going into action, and I would say there are some pretty nasty units around to try a turn 1 play. Besides the Windsweep Ophelia and Flash Plus Veronica, there's also Odd Tempest Mirror Impact Zeros, Odd Tempest Flashing Blade Gale Force Marita at +10 merges, and also an Odd Tempest Mirabilis. Something tells me that this player wasn't a huge fan of Dimitri. This is not a funny team to tank, unless you're a whale yourself, that's for sure. So, what did I do? With 6 units and 4 buildings, I knew I couldn't make all of my units stay out of Sigurd's new range. So, if I have no way of stopping the turn 1 play, let's not care about Sigurd's range at all, but rather look at Ophelia's range. Her future position would leave exactly 6 tiles untouched by her attack, 2 on the left side and 4 on the right side. These were the tiles I had to use with my units in the most effective kind of way. Only 1 building more or a building out of position may have already lost me that match, so if you haven't heard it enough so far, leave your buildings at home. I marked Ophelia so it will be easier to follow exactly how the danger area shifts once the trap activates. So, looks like I made it into round 2. Yay! Now is the time to act though. By standing in Sigurd's range, there's no way for me to stall for another round. And we all know that forced turn 2 engages with out of position units can be as deadly as the forced turn 1 engage itself. You will see though, hopefully, that I didn't just move my units out of position. Everyone stood on the exact tile they had to in order to make this work. Let's start with the most overseen unit among them, wearing this dress for half a year without a bath bridal Fjorm. Even though I couldn't isolate Azura in the first turn, Fjorm's smell can totally isolate her in this turn. One big disadvantage for these forced turn 1 traps is that you know exactly where every single unit will end up. As I knew she would dance from exactly this tile, I also knew I could safely isolate her in this turn. Having 3 dancers on the enemy team is truly frightening, as each additional dancer makes hit and run strategies more unreliable, and there is no way for me to kill 7 units in this single turn without running a real Lin force. Isolating Sigurd's row would have been even better, but with my bolt tower blocking that spot, I had to work with what I had. So, 1 dancer was out of the way, 2 left to deal with, and Mirabilis was awkwardly far in the back. I kicked my Lin into range. I would totally use the past tense of smite if I had any idea what that is. I smited? I smit? I put her into range to kill Sigurd and did it in a harmful, bruises-causing way. At least I always imagine smite works like that, which says a lot about me. Killing him was luckily possible because I'm running Disarm Trap and the unit on Marita's tile wasn't a far-safe Edelgard. With Sigurd out of the way, I was able to dance Lin with Peony, who I placed in exactly this tile for exactly that reason. A high-level tactic room in place of the healing tower would have totally fucked me up there. You see that? I'm already giving hints on the ultimate Sigurd defense, so take your notes. From there, I took out Mirabilis. If there had been a second duo unit, I would have had to kill that unit, but luckily for me there was none. With this, my Lin was balls deep into enemy territory, and without a real Lin force setup I had no way of reaching her with another dance. Therefore, I used her duo dance to get her out, but not before I took out Ophelia. Technically I didn't have to. Ophelia would have rallied someone, and with Azura being isolated there was no dance to refresh her. But ground orders on a serial killer in see-through clothing always makes me nervous, so I was glad to see her dead instead. Now you might think that I totally outplayed myself. Cheatery was out of range to activate her cheated dance. Sure, I could have danced Naga with Plumeria, pushed Peony in 1 tile, danced Lin with the duo, and leave Peony in range of Marita to die? No good. Instead, I used the amazing Regin. I know that many players don't like her that much, but she's a real treasure for me. There's no way I will ever kick her out of any team. I left both the structures in place the turn before, in case I needed to destroy them for some sort of Kanto play, but to win this round I had to outsmart myself. I moved Regin 3 tiles over without touching anything, so her Kanto would still be intact. There I danced her with Plumeria. With that she was able to reposition Lin out of the danger area and get out herself with Kanto. I mean, I could have used Peony's duo skill as well, but you will see later that I will be very grateful for still having it. Round 3. My bolt tower hit the remaining team like hell hit air, leaving everyone barely alive. I need to get rid of Azura in this turn as she was no longer isolated, but I also need to be careful as both Zeros and Marita would activate Or Tempest again. In the end, I decided to go full Dimitri against the team and kill every last one of them. Seeing how often he had to die for them, I'm sure he would appreciate this. Thankfully, Lin is an absolute killing machine. I'm so used to her killing that I sometimes accidentally forget to even check the damage before I engage. With killing Azura, I was out of Veronica's range and Regin could save Peony, so it was finally time to end this match.
Over here. It will be done.
Leaving a ranged cavalry unit alive as the last unit while trying to get pots is literally the most unfortunate thing ever. On top of it, my Lin ended up being slowed by the tactic room, so that was another big F. To play the linking game, do you see the victory? If you would like to test your fantasy chess skills, pause the video now and tell me in the comments if you came up with the same idea as me or even found a different solution. I will stall the turn for another moment, so those with the really thick index fingers also get the time to find the pause button. No shame on thick fingers. To tell you something awkward myself, I might literally cosplay Reinhardt. I have exactly the same hair and the tiniest hands possible for a 6'2" adult male person. Alright, now for all of you who are already sick of hearing my voice, witness the magic.
I'll do it. On the right foot. Why not? Over here? Close your eyes. I won't lose.
And now tell me that this wasn't totally awesome. Please tell me. I have a huge inferiority complex because of my small Reinhardt hands. I could really need it right now. And I am proud of that play. For everyone wondering if I was gambling on the trap, I knew the heavy trap was fake as I triggered the real one with Lin when I took out Sigurd. From there I only had to take the pots and end the match with the real movement hero of this game. I wonder what kind of crazy stuff people may come up with if we ever get a full Kanto like dragons on a defensive mythic. And using this beautiful transition with the knowledge we gathered during this game, let's move on to the new most disgusting Force Turn 1 map enabled by our dear friend Sigurd. And also the other Sigurd. You can see right away that this setup has a lot of the mechanics from the map we just saw in my replay, but this one is even better I think. First change, we will put Veronica in the front row and make her the extra slot unit. With odd recovery she can protect the whole team but herself from debuffs and isolations. With being in the extra slot we force Dancer Sigurd to move down. This is possible with the right slot order, and refresh Veronica, who will be washed clean from any kind of debuffs or gravity herself. Instead of Veronica, this could of course be literally any other healer. Let's take Baby La Rochelle instead, cause she's cute. As seen before, Dancer Sigurd will now threaten the whole map besides 6 tiles, so if you bring 6 units and at least a bonus structure, you will already activate the trap. Additionally though, we have another ranged cav on the right side, so now we are down to 5 save slots. Any team with 6 units is already screwed at this point, forcing you into a now or never engage. Instead of running a rally on a ranged cav carry unit though, we will run the rally on legendary Sigurd. With his unique special giving him 1 additional tile of movement by default, he has technically the same range as a major bow cav. No matter if you ended up in Sigurd's range or also in Selina's range, he will rally one of them and Mirabilis, preferably with Odd Tempest, will be around to refresh him. If Sigurd finds a target after that, and the chances are definitely there looking at the danger area right now, he moves down to attack. Now, if you left someone in Selina's range, preferably someone green to counter her, you are already screwed. But even if you manage to stay out of her range, there are only 5 tiles also out of Sigurd's new range, and keep in mind that there is still a building left to place. Even if you would manage to keep all your units safe somehow, maybe by putting the hard-boiled buildings in the center and leaving the corners open, you will have to engage in turn 2 with a really unfortunate position, especially in combination with a high-level tactic room, and then there's still the far-safe Edelgard. Assuming you didn't find these magical save tiles or one of them was stupidly covered by the bonus building, here's what will happen next. By activating his special, which has a cooldown of only 1, Sigurd will give 1 additional tile of movement to all of his teammates. There are various ways to make sure he activates that special, With quickened pulse he can very well have it activated at all times, while there's also the option of running Ground Scratcher on your healer. With Sigurd having a very good attack stat to work with, you could actually use Ground Scratcher in a way to give 1 cooldown to all the carries, making their attacks even more devastating. Now, it doesn't matter if Sigurd kills his target or dies during the battle. Without any chance for your unit to go into vantage range right in turn 1, Sigurd will activate that special and grant all of the other remaining allies another tile of movement. And I guess you can imagine what that will do to these Kevs. With this we are effectively down to 1 to 3 safe tiles across the whole map, with a huge area of overlapping range for cavalry units of 3 different colors. If you are unafraid of turn 1 engages, you may even bring another Kev in Edelgard's position and make uncovered tiles literally non-existent. I'm not a user of it myself, but I think this might even force the strongest far-safe near-safe offense to the edge of their saving capacity. Just a word of advice though, you might want to make sure that Veronica isn't a viable rally target, maybe with an old school dance steal on Dancer Sigurd. Otherwise, Legendary Sigurd might just rally Veronica in place if you leave someone in her range. There's also that one really strange case where you might force Legendary Sigurd to rally Dancer Sigurd from his right side. I think this might be possible with a ranged Kev unit in his row, threatening the tile left of Dancer Sigurd, but this would need a bit of testing. In a case like this, Mirabilis would actually have no way of dancing Legendary Sigurd, and the whole thing would crumble, but that's a really far guess and still leaves you with an awkward turn 2 to handle. You can literally use any Kev healer as long as they run odd recovery. You can also use the slaying Kev of your preference. A highly invested Oldman might be better to take care of a far safe backdoor, and Duo Mia might be a good idea to stop Linfor's plays. Though I don't think Lin can kill a deflect missile far-safe Edelgard without additional damage in turn 1. And even the far-safe Edelgard can be easily switched. Her movement shenanigans aren't that crucial for this map, so just make sure whichever far-safe tank you use can't be killed in a single round of combat. That being said, I would really love to test this map myself for further flaws, but I'm broke, and I have neither Dancer Sigurd nor a single odd Tempest, and I haven't even summoned on the legendary banner yet. A huge disadvantage of this team is the open map design. In order to unleash Sigurd's full potential, you want the map to be as open as possible, which is on the other hand good for teams who can initiate right in turn 1, especially Gale Force teams. I do think that the far-safe Edelgard should protect the team from Linfor's plays. If not, a second duo horse could surely help against that. But running Duo Mia over Selena or any other colorful horse might end up making your team very fragile to TA Raven Tome units. Funny enough, the team might even work on the mountain map, making turn 1 initiations much harder. Dancer Sigurd will only threaten a single tile less, and that being said, a tile which is often covered by a building anyways. And with forcing Legendary Sigurd on the edges of the map in both scenarios, his threat range won't change at all. On top of that, you even stop him from rallying Sigurd from the right, as the mountain will block him from taking that tile, but not Mirabilis. Luckily for you and me, these setups will only work during wind season, unless the player in question is so sure of themselves that they don't care about the blessing. The thing I really like about this design is that it actually fully scores. If you start taking away the mythics and throw in legendary Kevs of any season, you may make this even more dangerous, but I'm a good boy, and I wanted to build a defense that is not only a scary meme, but an actual working and scoring defense. I must say though, IS is really pushing the meta a lot lately. I've always been an advocate for stronger defense teams, but these forced engages and the fact that Kev lines are getting more and more out of control, while things like Flyerballs or IP teams are literally dead, really leaves me wondering if we had to break the meta for the 4th time since Book 5. And don't even get me starting on Pathfinder on defensive teams. The things I've seen will literally force IS to add another row in the bottom to make up for that potential threat. So, how do you feel about Legendary Sigurd's effect? Are your offensive teams ready for that kind of turn 1 engage? Let me know what you think in the comments below. I hope you enjoyed this, and everyone who has the right fodder and units to try out my defense design, let me know if it works or not. I for myself will leave now and cry manly tears over all the units and skills I don't have. See you next time.